Halo, nampak ini. Terima kasih. Rai, Umi, Ibu lah masuk, tapi belum mulai. Suara.
Baik, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, dan salam sehat untuk kita semua. Yang terhormat, PLT Direktur Bina Pengatar Kerja, Bapak Rendra Setiawan, Employment and Labor Market Policy Specialist, ILO Country Office for the Indonesia and Timor Leste, Mr. Digore,
Jack biasa kan?
Technical Specialist, Labor Market Service, ILO Headquarter Geneva, Mr. Francois Dumora, National Project Coordinator Protect Indonesia ILO Jakarta, Ibu Cynthia Dewi Har Krisnowo, dan para seluruh pengatar kerja yang kami banggakan. Puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan yang Maha Esa karena limpahan rahmat dan hidayahnya sehingga kita dapat berkumpul melalui Zoom meeting dalam rangka webinar series dengan tema pada sesi kali ini, yaitu pengalaman negara-negara lain, terutama Afrika Utara dan Pantai Gading, dalam penyediaan layanan ketenagakerjaan bagi orang-orang yang tertarik bermigrasi keluar. Kegiatan ini dilaksanakan 4 sesi, yaitu pada tanggal 9, 11, 12, dan 16 Desember 2024. Dan untuk link daftar hadir, evaluasi dan post-test akan diberikan menjelang akhir webinar ini. Baik, langsung saja saya akan memperkenalkan satu narasumber pada sesi 4 ini, yaitu adalah Technical Specialist Labor Market Services ILO Headquarter Geneva, Mr. Francois Dumora. Lalu yang akan menjadi moderator pada sesi ini adalah Mr. Diego Rey. Oke, Mr. Diego Rey, the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, we are having a bit of technical inconveniences. So I'm awaiting my colleague Francois to join us. In the meantime, what I would suggest is if we can go over any pending questions from the past webinars and see if we can address them specifically from Binapenta side. Does that make sense? Hello? Yes, can somebody please? Okay, so I'll this is after, sorry, these guys no need right now. I wanted to encourage our attendees online. If there's any pending question from the sessions we held last Wednesday, and last Thursday. If there is anything you would want to have an answer to. You can raise your hand or you can type the question in the chat.
Assalamualaikum.
Yes, Delina, please go ahead.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Mr. Diego. Oke, selamat siang semuanya. Saya Delina Asriani dari Disnaker Kabupaten Karimun, Provinsi Kepulauan Riau. Izin bertanya, ini yang kemarin tentang standar ketenagakerjaan internasional. Pertanyaan saya, ada banyak negara di dunia, tentu saja menjadikan perbedaan dalam hukum dan praktik kerja di berbagai negara. Hal ini tentu saja menjadi salah satu tantangan dalam menetapkan standar ketenagakerjaan internasional. Bagaimana ILO menyikapi tantangan permasalahan ini? Kemudian bagaimana tanggapan dari ILO untuk kepada pengantar kerja mengenai isu ini? Demikian pertanyaan saya. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ms. Delina, thanks for your question. It's a complex one, but I tried to summarize the answer. The international labor standards are not strictly speaking developed by the ILO alone. The ILO facilitates the drafting of the standards itself, and the standard itself is the consequence of the preferences expressed by each and every country member of the ILO. And usually those preferences are not necessarily expressed individually. The countries gather or cluster in groups. Usually, not all the time. And they express how they would like that standard to be shaped. What is the text of the standards they would like to be included internationally. And as a result of this process, there are several drafts of the standards, conventions which are more binding, and resolutions which are slightly less binding, and also recommendations. Sorry, conventions and recommendations, no resolutions. And then the standard is adopted in the International Labour Conference, usually every year, and then it's ratified. Once it's adopted by the conference, the countries have one more step to make it part of the national regulation, which is the ratification at the national level, at the country level. So as a result of this, we have something which is internationally valid, which is a convention or a resolution, sorry, a recommendation. And then we have something at the national level, which originates from that, but is actually national law. It might be based on that, but it's actually national legislation. The question is particularly interesting because right now we are going through this process for what concerns platform workers. So all the countries of the world right now have expressed some preferences about what they would like the new international standards on platform workers to look like, what kind of text they would like to have included in that legal document, including Indonesia. And as a result of these express preferences, the ILO is putting together an advanced draft, which by no means will be the final draft. It will be further discussed and eventually approved in the International Labour Conference of 2026 after a first discussion which will happen in the International Labour Conference of 2025. I hope this is clear. Thank you again for the question. Is there any other question we could try to address? Again, apologies for this delay. We are waiting for our colleague from headquarters. Not fully sure what we cannot contact him. So it's this is the situation right now. We're trying to figure out the cause for this delay and see if he can join us sooner than later.
Dari Mbak Gracia. Mbak Gracia menanyakan terkait untuk aturan magang kerja di luar negeri, apakah sama dengan kerja di luar negeri? Apakah mungkin bisa direspon, Pak Diego?
Yes, there is a question from Shani. Miss or Mr.
Yes, thank you so much. Good afternoon, Mr. Diego. Do you hear me?
Very well. Good afternoon. Please go ahead.
Yes, I would like to inquire about the labor service standards in countries that are not yet categorized as adequate or favorable in terms of protection for foreign workers and economic condition, but still receive foreign workers, particularly from Indonesia. So for example, like, island nations or regions such as like Africa or some countries in the Middle East also. So in relation to this, with regard to the knowledge required by job placement officers, as we are like, as a consultant for our migrant workers, could the ILO provide service standards that could serve as a reference for us? This would help us ensure that we can deliver standards and verified services in compliance with the regulations of the destination countries for Indonesian migrant workers. Thank you. Is it clear?
Not fully. The standards are for the provision of services. This is what is meant.
Yes, I mean standard from the ILO have a provide service standard for us as a consultant, for our migrant workers regarding about like some countries like in the Middle East or like also another region such as like Africa or Caribbean nation or island nations. I mean, this is also we sometimes provide our migrant workers to sending abroad that and to that country, but we as a know there is also the condition that country is as a like economic condition is still also not I think is not good enough also, and for protection in terms of protection for our workers is we sometimes doubt about that country also. So what kind suggest or advice for us regarding about the ILO provide a service standards to that could serve as a reference for us also. So this is what I mean for we want to have a knowledge or I mean like information. So if we have some case like this, I think already we facing this case, but we need to make a standard for our branch as our colleague in the branch office. It's mean so they not deaf or sometimes they like confuse how the way they wanted to give providing for our migrant workers. This is what I mean. My question.
Thanks. Okay. First of all, what ILO can do to start with is the compliance of the service offered with the international labor standards. That's first and foremost. We have the fair migration framework, which deals with recruitment practices and cost, which I think was explained last Thursday during the webinar, and ILO can reflect on that. Now, international labor standards do not dictate or prescribe in detail how services should be provided. They usually set minimum standards, as in service should be provided to everybody. In the case of employment services, free of charge, without discrimination, etc., etc. If we want to look at how the individual employment services operate and to what extent the provision of service on the one hand, but also a lot of other elements, for instance, efficiency. Are we providing our services, making the best use of resources, or monitoring? Are we monitoring the provision of service using the right indicators, or even some performance management? Are we managing the performance of our staff the way we should? Are we managing the performance of our offices the way we should? We can support and kind of have a institutional assessment or an office level assessment, it's hard to generalize about what would be best or less good. I cannot be more specific, but it's definitely a service we can offer. There are some good practices out there, but at the end of the day, it's not a simple matter of comparing the organization, the institutional setting, the performance of individual offices. It's a matter of defining some ways to improve it progressively and making it better. It's not only the evaluation per se. Apologies if I cannot be more specific, but it's a complex question which needs to be the answer needs to be tailored to exactly what office and what function of the office we want to assess and improve. Thanks.
One more question, if you don't mind, about how we can providing feedback to Indonesian migrant workers who still wish to work in countries categorized as unsuitable or not recommended, requires a thoughtful or empathic or informative approach. And then how the way we give the feedback properly to them, because this is we as a consultant not only just give the how we can give the services to them, but also how the way we measure they are get good protection, so this is sometimes for us is very tough when we facing the typical people as our migrant workers still wanted to go through with this, even though this is legal, but how the way we wanted to giving feedback and properly, if you can give the suggest.
Thanks. This is an excellent question. So if we have the case of a migrant worker that wants to go in a country where the working conditions are not ideal, let's put it that way. First of all, as we saw during the first webinar, we have some screening questions. We need to be sure that the person understands what working abroad entails or does not entail. We need to be sure that the person is motivated after this understanding is more complete. I might have an intention to work abroad, but I might not have the understanding about what working abroad entails. So as employment service officers, employment counselors, we need to help develop that understanding. And we do this in two ways, providing some basic information if we have it, or better, referring the job seeker to where this information is located. Again, the principle is helping them to help themselves, and helping themselves means also to understand where the information is and what kind of information it is. And the information is about vacancies, the information is about salary, the information is about working conditions, how many hours per week, but also about, why not, how many cases of abuses there were in that country, in that sector, with that employer. That we have registries, records of this, and we should tell the job seekers about this, at least where to find this information, and help them to interpret it. Then we cannot do the job search for them. We cannot do we need to provide them the tools to help themselves. But most importantly, and this is the last part, we will never make the decision on their behalf. We provide the instruments necessary for them to make an educated decision, but at the end of the day, the decision will be theirs. Having said that, Francois, good morning. My colleague Francois just joined us. I'm happy to see you.
Hello, good morning, Diego. Sorry to be late.
No worries. I hope everything is okay now.
Yes.
We will start with where we finished on the 9th. Specifically, if I may ask to put up the slide number 7 of my presentation, we will just take it from there to introduce today's session. Today's session, we discuss about the practice of employment services in other countries. May I ask colleagues from Binapenta to just quickly put up slide 7 of my presentation, the one on December 9th. Great. So this is our flow. We had the job seekers who might have good enough knowledge about working abroad or not. This is what happens if we go in the bottom of this picture and this flow, the bottom line. We have some initial interview. We saw this on the 9th. And if the job seeker passes these initial interviews, there are a number of additional services that we can offer. And this is what Francois will talk about. We talk about the group information sessions. What are they about? Personalized plan for providing services for employment abroad. We also talk about how the job matching function is organized. Some countries actually provide that service to some extent, from what I understand, Indonesia as well. And then about the pre-departure trainings, we do it in Indonesia. Francois will explain a bit how this is done in other countries. Last but not least, we will also have a quick reference about cases of when things go wrong. If there is a fraud, if there is an abuse, and Francois will present shortly about that. Having said that, I will stop here and I'll give the floor to Francois, and afterwards we will have a question and answer session. Thanks a lot. Is it possible?
Thanks, Diego.
Is it possible to upload Francois' presentation now?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Before having the presentation on the screen, I would like to say good morning or good afternoon for all the colleagues online. For me, it's a pleasure to be with you today. 1 year ago, I was in Jakarta with some of you, and we had a great training, I think, with you on the job and the skills of employment advisor. So for me, it's a pleasure to meet you again and to discuss about this specific topic about supporting job seeker to find employment abroad. I know it's the 4th module for this series of webinar. And as Diego said, I will show you some details about the process of supporting job seekers. But also, I will share with you some experiences in other countries. We can go on the second slide, please. Yes. So that is the program for my presentation. How employment services in other countries are organizing themselves to manage international migration. We will explore 3 examples: Morocco, Ivory Coast, and France. Then we will focus on some specific topics of the process. Group session, the group session to inform about international professional mobility. Also, we will talk about the relation with company and the management of intermediation. We will discuss about the preparation for departure, which is, of course, a very important moment in the process. And at the end, we will discuss about complaints management. So let's start. To start, we could go on the next slide, please. I would like to present some videos about the context, because we talk about supporting job seekers to find a job abroad, because we know a lot of people in all the continents to find a better way of life, a better level of life, would like to work in another country. And many people are going in other country by themselves, or using some system who are not very secure. And so we know in this case, there are many problems. If we can, we will look at two small video cartoons. So I will ask, they are in English, but I think that the translator will be able to explain. So if you can click on the first one, please. Click, yes. Click to look at the video, please. Are you able to show the screen of the video? Yes. Here we go. Thank you. And now we will have a look on the second video. It's the same topics and to describe the same situation, please. You have to go down on the screen. Yes, down, yes. And here you have the second video, please. In full screen. Thank you very much. We can go back on the PowerPoint presentation. So what can we see on these two short videos? We can see the reality of the things for many people all over the world. We know that men and women who will go in other country to work, in many often time they are exploited. They work in a very bad situation and they are not free. Why? Because of the system, because of people who are exploited their situation, and that is the reality. So why are public employment service involved in international professional mobility? If we can go on the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. Why are public employment services involved in international professional mobility? Why? It's because of what we saw before. It's to offer the population a legal, structured, and secure alternative for professional migration. While illegal migration network exploit the credulity of young people at the risk of their life, because that is a reality. It's also to provide a relevant and professional contact for foreign partners and employers looking to recruit skills in your country. Because we know many companies from other countries are looking for profiles and for skills in other countries. It's also to provide decent employment opportunities to Indonesian job seekers who are unable to find employment in their professional sector, in the domestic market, work market, labor market. It's also to enable Indonesians to enrich their skills and profile through a professional experience abroad before some return to the country to reinvest their new skills. And that is good also for the economy of the country. Because with this way, you can enrich the country economy by establishing also a diaspora abroad, which will send foreign currency back to the national territory. That is the reality of migration in good condition, and public employment services have a role to play. To provide advice, to provide support in order that people and young people could find a job abroad in good condition. That is the objective. And we can see more and more countries are doing this, more and more public employment service are providing this kind of support. So now we will explore 3 examples. On the next slide, please. We will start exploring the examples of Morocco. The name of public employment service in Morocco is ANAPEC. And on this slide, you can see an example of a local employment agency in Morocco, local employment agency of ANAPEC. As you can see, it's a very nice place with free access computer, with information, with support. It's they have a really nice employment agency. And in this employment agency, they propose many kind of services, and one of them is support to find a job abroad. So on the next slide, please. We will discover the way of organizing the delivery of services. So on, on this graphic, it could maybe it seems a little complex, and but I will explain all the graphic. This graphic represents the organization of ANAPEC, Morocco Public Employment Service, to implement services for job seekers and employers to find a job abroad. The organization in Morocco is built on a separate responsibility. I mean that they have two teams. In blue, excuse me, could you close your microphone, please? So they have two teams. They have a centralized team in Casablanca. It's the department in charge of international mobility. In blue, you can see all the activity of this small specialized team in the capital, in Casablanca, economic capital. And in blue, you can see the activity of this specialized team. And in green, you can see the activities of the colleagues in the field. I mean that in each local employment agency in Morocco, there is one colleague in charge of supporting job seekers on the topic of international mobility, one by local employment agency. And they have more than 80 local employment agency in the country. So in green, you have the activities of colleagues, specialized colleagues in the local agency, one by a local agency, and in blue, the activities of the small specialized team who is in Casablanca. Casablanca is the economic capital of the country. So they organize the services like that. As you can see in blue, we have all the relation with the employers. And in green, we have all the relation with job seekers. So how we could, what is the functioning? First, in blue, the small team centralized in Casablanca will have a strategy of prospecting companies, employer prospecting. They are looking for employers who have the project to find people, to find profile in Morocco. For these employers, when the small team is in contact with the employers, they will provide some information about the local job market because they need to explain to the employer from other country what is the reality of the local job market. After that, they will collect the job vacancy. They will negotiate the job vacancy to identify the needs and to identify the kind of profile the employers is looking for. This job vacancy will be registered on the portal, on the employment service portal, web portal, and the job vacancy will be distributed on several ways. So that will be the first step, contact with employers and registration of the job vacancy. After that, this information will be known by the local agency, all the network of the local agency. And so the local agency will search for candidates. But in the upper right side of the graphic, you can see the work that the colleagues in the field are leading. The colleagues in the field during all the year have to identify a potential of candidates who are interested for the mobility. They do that during first interviews, diagnostic interviews, and they identify these people. Also, they will deliver information about the realities of international mobility. And so that they do it by an information session dedicated to the topic of international mobility. We will talk about it later. They will also propose for each candidate for the international mobility to support the construction of their project in face-to-face interviews. They will also provide some information about some countries. We know that some countries are more frequent to propose international mobility. This is the case, for example, for Canada or for Australia. And they could also provide support to language assessment and language courses. So that is the activities, the normal activities of the colleagues in the field who are specialized on the topic of counseling or international mobility. And so you can understand both activities in blue and green are in the same time all over the year. But when the blue team will identify a job vacancy, the information will go to the green team. And so the green team will search for candidates. We are in the lower part of the graphic now. They will search for candidates in relation with the profile of the job vacancy. They will organize also a pre-selection of candidates. And this pre-selection of candidates will go at the national level for the blue team. The blue team will be in charge of presenting this profile to the employer. Then the employer, it's the orange part, will have pre-selection of the candidates. That is the job of the employer, to do his own pre-selection in order to have an interview. But before the interview, the green team will propose interview preparation workshop. Okay? Interview preparation workshop. So the blue team also will propose, will work for having an employer selection interview, and the interview will occur. At the end, it's the employer who will have the final choice. It's the orange case. So the employer will choose the profile, the good candidates he wants to contract. Between this moment of the choice of the candidates and the departure, we will have many activities. Departure preparation workshop, that is a very important moment, of course, because it's not so easy to go working and living in a new country. So you have to propose many advice for job seekers. And so we need this departure preparation workshop. We could have also optional business model, maybe to reskill some profiles before taking the position. Also, other optional activity could be language reinforcement. And finally, before the departure, we have to prepare also all the migration procedure. So, as you can see on this graphic, we have in Morocco an organization very well done. It's a lot of work, but I have to say this organization of Morocco Public Employment Service is very efficient. They are doing this activity for more than 10 years and with a very good result. They work a lot, excuse me, they work a lot with European countries, but also other countries, Arabic countries and also. And they are really very efficient with this organization. Now we will have a look on other country. If we can go on the next slide, please. And we will go in Ivory Coast. In Ivory Coast, the name of the Public Employment Service is Agence Emploi Jeune. Agence Emploi Jeune is starting is organization for providing support to job seekers and employers on international mobility. We go on next slide, please. And as you will see, the Agence Emploi Jeune in Ivory Coast. On the next slide, please. Yes, thank you. As an organization very close to Morocco. Why? Because they had the support of Morocco to prepare their strategy of organization on the way to support companies and job seekers on the topic of international mobility. So the way is the organization is quite similar. I mean, we have on the right side the network of employment agency. In Ivory Coast, they have 24 regional employment agency, and in each regional employment agency, they have employment advisor specialized on the topic of international mobility. One employment advisor by regional agency. And on the left side in green, we have Agence Prestige Agency. Prestige Agency in Ivory Coast is an agency at the national level with in charge of supporting the main important companies of the country to find candidates. But now they also are in charge of supporting international placement. And so it's this prestige agency with the network head of the international placement service offer. They are in charge of developing a partnership on international placement. They are in charge also of developing an international corporate clientele. Processing and management of recruitment operation in conjunction with regional agency, including 2 levels of pre-selection. So they are in charge of contact with all the partners of this topic, with all the companies who are looking for candidates in Ivory Coast, and they are in charge of developing all the process to support the employers. But of course, they are in contact with the employment advisor in each regional agency, local agency. And so they are in charge of the animation of the network of international employment advisor in this regional agency. They also create support for clients. They have an activity of management. They manage the activity, they monitor the activity, and they are in charge also of the communication for all the system. So if we resume, Agence Prestige Agency is in charge of all the parts of the relation with companies, but also in charge of the
could you
animation.
mute your mic, sorry, and thank you. And Buran, can you mute your mic, please?
Yes, please mute your microphone, please. Thank you. So Agence Prestige is in charge of the relation with employers and the animation of the network of regional agency on the topic of international placement. And on the regional agency, the colleagues in charge of international placement will do the same as in Morocco. I mean, information and advice for candidates on mobility, constitution of a pool of potential candidates, support for the development of the individual mobility project, pre-selection of candidates, also language reinforcement, and preparation for departure. So you can see on these 2 examples from Morocco or from Ivory Coast, the way of organizing the services by public employment services. And now we will have a look on a 3rd example. Next slide, please. We will go in France. In France, the name of the public employment service is France Travail. And in France Travail, there is a team also dedicated to support French people, young French people, to find a job abroad. Because more and more young French people, it's the same in all the European countries, would like to start their career working some years abroad to have the experience of working in other countries. So in the next slide, please, we will see the specific organization in France. Pôle Emploi, on the slide, the name of Pôle Emploi is the previous name of France Travail. They changed the name this year. In France Travail, the organization is 100% remote model. There is no face-to-face contact. It's 100% remote model for delivering these services. And it's 100% decentralized model. There is no centralized activity in Paris. As you can see on the map, there is 7 specialized international mobility teams in the country. There are the 7 red points on the map. So 7 specialized international mobility teams all over the country to support remotely candidates for international mobility and also support companies. Why do they have 7 mobility teams? Because France Travail choose to specialize each team on a region of the world. Each regional team is an expert in a geographic area or several highly sought after countries. Each expert team knows the job market of the target country, their skills need, and their specificity. I mean, recruitment practice, immigration policies, skills out, salaries, cost of living. And so they are able to work with the company of these specific countries, but also they are able to support and to give information to the candidates about the reality and the needs of each specific country. Each expert team has contact with country authority, major employers, and specialized partners. So when you are a job seeker in France, for example, when you are a job seeker in the northwest part of France, in the region called Bretagne, but in this region, there is no specific teams on the topic of international mobility. But it's not a problem because all the services are remotely. So whatever place in France you live, you could have support on international mobility. And to choose the team, one of the 7 teams to support you in your project, it will be in link with the country you want to go. For example, if you want to work in Canada, it's the team from the region of Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes. We will support you to prepare your project and to give you all the contacts you need to find a job in Canada. If you want to work in Australia, it will be the team from the region Aquitaine, Nouvelle-Aquitaine. We will provide you support to find a job in Australia. All this support will be remotely. So you can discover here another way of organizing from public employment services. So that is the first part, the end of the first part of my presentation. And we will continue on the second part. If you, we can go on the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So on the no, next slide, please. Excuse me. Next, no, we go down. Yes, thank you. So on the second part, we will discuss about, we will talk about 4 specific steps, 4 specific topics of international mobility. The first one will be group session to inform about international professional mobility. Second one will be relation with company and management of intermediation. Third one, we will talk about preparation for departure. And at the end, we will discuss about complaints management. So we go. Next slide, please. Group session. Group session to inform about international professional mobility. These group sessions are very, very important. I think in all the public employment service all over the world, when they decided to support job seekers on the topic of international professional mobility, they usually organize this group session. As Diego said, the first contact with job seekers on the topic of international professional mobility is normally a face-to-face contact, is during the diagnostic individual first interview. During this diagnostic interview, you will identify the job seekers who could be interested in finding a job abroad, in working in other countries. So the group session is dedicated for this job seekers identified during the diagnostic interview. And the objective of the group session is to enable participants to understand the reality involved in professional mobility in order to confirm their desire or to give up. It's really important because we need that people we will support on international mobility could really identify the reality of the situation, the reality about working in another country. It is not easy. It could be very difficult. So they need to have a good level of information in order to confirm their desire or to say, no, I stop there and I don't want to work in other country. What is the content of this group session? The content is general information about the risk of illegal immigration. We had a look before on the short video to show what are the reality of illegal immigration and the exploitation. The content is also job opportunities, information about job opportunities abroad by profession, by sector, or by countries. Also giving information about the challenges of living in a foreign country. Immigration procedures, culture shock, it's a reality. Temperature shock, it's other reality. Family separation, rules of life in a company different from the country of origin, language barrier, etc. Support and services offered by the PES to potential candidates. At the end of the presentation, it's the moment, indeed, to present the kind of support that the Public Employment Service could propose to the potential candidates. Usually, these group sessions are face-to-face, but it could be also online information meeting in small groups to facilitate discussion. That is important to facilitate discussion. And after this group session, the participants who confirm their project will be codified in the public employment service computer system to integrate the pool of potential candidates, can benefit from personalized support to prepare their projects, choice of target profession, identification of priority countries, skill strengthening, linguistic strengthening, job search strategy. That are the next steps to support individually or in groups, but more individually, support job seekers who really have the project to continue. Now we will talk about relation with companies. Next slide, please. Thank you. Relation with companies and management of intermediation. Because of course, to support international professional mobilities for a public employment service, it's important to support the job seekers, but also to support the companies, to welcome the companies, the foreign companies who are looking for profiles for candidates in Indonesia. And so you need to build your organization, to organize your internal organization to support the companies. First point is managing proactive employers and organizations that contact the public employment service directly. Because we know that more and more some countries need candidates from other countries. It's the case in Europe, it's the case in Gulf Arabic countries, it's the case in Australia, in Canada. There are many parts of the world where they are looking for more job seekers because the population is changing and they need profiles from other countries. So we know that many companies or many organizations of the country, these countries, are contacting directly public employment service to find candidates. We have three main tips. Excuse me. We have three main tips: private companies, private employment agencies, or government agencies. These three types will contact your public employment service to find candidates. The first activity of the public employment service is to check the seriousness of the interlocutors. Because in this context, in this situation, we have to say that we could have very bad interlocutors. There are some interlocutors who are not serious. So the first activity of the public employment service is to check the seriousness of the interlocutor. After, you have to work with this interlocutor like with an internal company. Identify expectation and needs. Inform about the potential of the job market in the country and the possible profiles. Inform about the services offered and the operating rules. Take the order and process the recruitment according to the circuit presented. Even if the processing of the job offer follows the same steps as a national offer, we have specific points of vigilance who must be taken into consideration. As I said, the first point is a verification of the employer profile, but also information on the important deadline linked to the migration authorization, verification of the reception conditions of future employees, that is very important, reception condition of the future employees, preparation for departure, etc. And for government agencies and private employment agencies, consider setting out the collaboration in a written agreement that specify the roles of each party. And it's a win-win situation. You need to have an agreement with this kind of partners, government agency or private employment agency, to build a win-win agreement.
Yustari, please.
Mute your microphone, please.
Yustari, Yusuf.
Thank you. So that is for the service and the contact with the proactive employers. And there are many. So if you start your organization with providing support on international placement, maybe you will have a lot of work to start with these proactive employers. But later, when your organization will be solid, will be well structured, you will be able to continue with prospecting for potential new employers, targeting countries with potential. I mean, identify in which country of the region, of the Grand region, or in which country of the world the Indonesian profile could be interesting. Rely on diplomatic networks and chambers of commerce. It's a very good way for starting this prospection. And respect the government strategy also to avoid the brain drain. Because we know in many countries, the government or politician or population also could say, oh, it's a problem if our good profiles go in other countries. It's a brain drain. So you have to manage with that. Maybe in some countries, there are some rules about the sectors. For some sectors, it could be forbidden or very difficult to go working abroad because there is a lot of needs directly in the country. And for other sectors, it's more easy. So that was about the relation with companies. We will continue with the third topics, which is preparation for departure. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, as we saw on the example of Morocco, Ivory Coast, or as I presented before, preparation for departure is very important. And it could be a long step. You will need time to prepare the departure, because the objectives is that the experience of the candidate in his new company will be efficient and will be a success. So in order to have a success in this activity, in this new professional experience, you need to prepare very well the departure. So Once the employer has finalized its choice of candidates to recruit, you could have several kind of activities for the preparation of departure. First one will be language preparation. It's optional, of course. Language preparation, because it depends of the country, it depends of the profile of the candidate. Also, strengthening skills in relation to the position to be filled. Also, it's optional. It depends of the profiles of the position and the profiles of the candidates. After, we have the steps to obtain a visa and work permit in the host country. That is not optional. And it could be very long. It could be very long. So, you know, it's an administrative step, but very important, of course. Reservation, booking of accommodation with support from the employer and or the partner organization. It's of course very important when the candidate will arrive in the new country that it could have an accommodation, a place to live in a good condition. Purchase of plane or boat tickets, usually financed by employer. Additional information for the future employee on daily life in the host country. The idea is to prepare the candidate for the cultural shock and for the weather shock also. The idea is that the new candidate, the person could arrive in the country well prepared to success in his new life. So information about the history of the country, about the culture of the country, about the lifestyles, the way of life, the behavior in the society. All these elements are very, very, very important. And the last step is candidate awareness to take the money needed to live in the country before receiving his first salary. Also, because when the person will start in his new position, he will have his first salary maybe at the end of the first month. So he needs to have money to live during the first month. Okay, so that are the kind of information you need to prepare for the departure. And finally, the last topic on the last slide, please. Thank you. Complaints management, because we know we could have complaints. In order to successfully integrate into the company and host country, the new employee must be able to benefit from adapted reception arrangement on site and contact with a resource person who can help them manage everyday worries and the early stage. The resource person is very, very, very important in the country. The new employee must also be able to report any dissatisfaction, either directly to the employer or to the partner organization, either to the labor inspection, and at the end, to the public employment service of the country of departure. But the public employment service is a last possibility, because when there is a problem in the dissatisfaction and a problem it's normal to start looking for a solution directly with the employer or the partner organization. Depending on the dissatisfaction notified to it, the public employment service of the country of departure may first mediate remotely to try to find a solution, advise the employee or employer to contact the labor inspectorate and enforce the labor law of the host country, and facilitate maybe the repatriation of the employee to his country of origin. It's the last solution, but maybe it could be necessary in some situation. So that was the last point of my presentation. It's for me the end of the module. We can have the last slide, please. It's the end of the module, and now with Diego, we will listen your answer and try to we will listen your question, excuse me, and try to answer. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Francois. A lot of information, different topics. We can go in random order if there is any question from our friends across Indonesia. As you have seen, the model from Morocco, from Côte d'Ivoire, and from France are slightly different from the one in Indonesia. We can answer and compare as needed.
It's normal because each country has a model in relation with the model of its public employment service, of its history, of the objective also of the government. So it's normal. But if I can explain or give more details, I will be happy to do it.
You can raise your hand or type in the chat.
Mr. Diego,
Please.
this is I'm Sadie. Maybe this is my question, quite similar like the last question I asked you, but this is I wanna ask about from the perspective from Mr. If I'm not wrong, Mr. Dumora Francois. Yes.
Francois.
Francis, you can call me Francis.
Francis. Okay. Sorry. I want to ask about your experience from your perspective. Like, how was your experience been with the employment services in the countries you are familiar with? Like, we would greatly appreciate the opportunity to learn from your experiences to enhance our knowledge in providing better services and protection for our citizens or for our migrant workers who wish to work in countries where economic stability and enforcement of regulations may still be lacking. I mean, you know, many our people as a migrant workers, they want go abroad to as a workers in terms of when we know that that the country is based on economic or regulation. This is like unstable, still not stable yet, like lacking. How was your experience been with this? Maybe you can give a suggestion or, you know, based on your experience and your perspective, because we already see about the materials and then based on practice from the Morocco or some countries, because we also have our own regulation. But we really understand if we want to know the in real, because sometimes we're facing many cases based on, like services for how to the maintenance and give the good information properly to our people. So that's why, because we have many varieties based on background education for our people, and mostly they have a middle low education. So that's why we need to properly information, and also the example good experience from the someone's already know about the some countries in the some regions. That is my question.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. It's a very large question. From my experience, first, maybe I will present myself a little, because I had the opportunity to do that. But so I'm working in the ILO, International Labour Organization, in Geneva. And I'm working in a unit in charge of supporting employment service all over the world. I'm working in the ILO since 2020. And before, I had a very long experience in France Travail in France. So I'm French. And during this very long experience, I had the opportunity to work on this topic of supporting job seekers to find a job in other countries. But the situation in France, in Europe, is different from the situation, for example, in Africa. The risks are really different. From my experience supporting other country and supporting, for example, African country, I can say that the first point, the first role, and maybe the most important from a public employment service, is to give information to job seekers, and especially to young job seekers, about the risk of illegal migration. That is really very, very important, because we know, and especially in Africa, but maybe it's the same in Asia, we know that so many young people and older, so many young people have difficulties and sometimes they risk their life looking for a job in other country, because of the risk of of traveling, but also because of the risk of illegal network who exploit their credulity. So the first role of public employment service is to give this information. But after this step, the idea is also that employment service could propose something else, because there is this way to find a job for illegal migration. But if we can't propose a legal way, it's a problem. So the second role of public employment service is to be able to propose a second way, a legal way, with good level of information, with good level of support to prepare the project, and of course, with contact with serious companies or serious organizations providing job opportunities. So two objectives, two roles of public employment service: information about the reality and the risk, and second, propose another way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Other questions?
Again, feel free to raise your hand or type in the chat. And feel free to ask in Bahasa as well. We have the interpreter.
Of course.
Any special case, any experience you want to share with Francois? Again, Francois was working on these very same topics in France. He can share with you his experience, his personal experience. Faridon. Go ahead, Faridon. Yeah, you're muted still. We see you, but we cannot hear you.
Oke.
Ya.
Selamat sore, Bu.
Ya.
Bicaranya agak kencang.
Oke,
Go
selamat
ahead,
sore.
go ahead.
Tapi suaranya
Ibu,
eko, Pak.
panitia. Halo, halo.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Halo, Ibu. Ya,
Go ahead,
sudah ya.
Faridon.
Oke. Ini cuma satu aja untuk narasumber, khusus Pak Bego, Mr. Bego dan Bu Molo dari Prancis. Jadi hanya satu pertanyaan buat kami. Kebetulan kenalkan, saya pengantar kerja dari Dinas Tenaga Kerja Kabupaten Tulang Bawang, Provinsi Lampung. Yang ingin saya tanyakan, peran di tempat Mr. bekerja dengan kami di Indonesia terkait peran pengawas ketenagakerjaan. Apakah di sana seperti apa pola pekerjaannya dibandingkan di Indonesia? Mungkin itu aja. Bisa.
Okay, thank you, Faridon. I have to say I don't know the way of organization in Indonesia on this topic. I need to discover it, but I understood that the way is different. About other countries, as I presented in my presentation before, we have several ways. I presented the way in Morocco, the way in Ivory Coast, and the way in France. As you can see, it could be different. But every time, all over the world, we can see that, of course, there is two main services. The services to contact and support companies, and the services to contact and support job seekers. In the two examples of Morocco and Ivory Coast I showed before, we have an organization with centralized contacts organized at the national level with companies, and decentralized contact with job seekers at the local level. We could find it in other countries. But also you can see, for example, in France, all the organization is at the same level. In France, each team in charge of one region of the world is in contact directly with both job seekers and employers. So you can see we have several ways of organization. What is important is really to be able to support the both clients, employers and job seekers. About employers, we can say also that more and more in several regions of the world, some international organizations are leading these activities. I can take the example of Canada. Canada is one of the countries in the world. We are looking all the time for new candidates from other countries. And so in Canada, they are very well organized. In Canada, they have national agencies in charge of looking for candidates in other parts of the world. And these national agencies are in contact, are contacting, prospecting public employment services in many countries. So it's easier to work with them because they know very well the process. They are very clear on the way to find vacancies and to find candidates, and they are facilitating the contact. So if I can give an advice for maybe the public employment service in Indonesia, it could be trying to work with these national agencies from the foreign country, for example, Canada, to work in the good condition and providing services in good conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Francois. We have Trisna from Bali. Then John and Dion from Jakarta. Trisna, nice to see you again. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Diego, and thank you, Mr. Francois, for your time. So just I want to share our experiences in Bali when we do like a public service to potential migrant workers. We don't specialize in migrant workers, but we have to be the Superman to know about all the information about that. And maybe just one suggestion, maybe ILO will have like more trainings about like placement scheme in other countries. For example, we have so many cases like, for example, like Ausbildung in Germany. So some youngsters, they really want to do this Ausbildung programs, and we have no idea what that is. So we have to find out about ourselves, but it's not an official information that we got because we have to ask around. We have to go to all these German language courses and something like that. And also because their placement scheme in Germany is not connected or like well related with our regulation about placement for Indonesians. So it's not really like connecting with the regulation. So I think that's going to be like a problem. For example, if they want to do the passport and stuff, they will ask for the job letter and stuff like that, but they cannot give it because it's like more vocational training before, then they can work. That is our experiences, and we're not specialized in that kind of stuff, and we have no idea about placement in other countries. So maybe it would be best for us if ILO can give us training about like other countries' placement scheme. And for example, like Francois mentioned, like in Canada, I know they have this MIA for foreigners who wants to work in Canada. They're very helpful because yeah, I went there twice. I looked for the information and
I know they're very like professional about like giving service to foreigners who wants to work in Canada because they want to have like they want to hire more people, and we don't have that. We just have to be like giving out information that really limited for like placement scheme in other countries. So that's the only suggestion. And thank you for the time, Mr. Francois and Pak Diego. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisna. Thank you very much. I remember you from last year session. And as you said, implement advisor in local agency, implement agency are Superman or Superwoman for you. It's not an easy job, but it's a very interesting job. Thank you for your testimony. And I think, yes, what is difficult maybe is to find information about the reality of the country, to discover the good interlocutors. And maybe that could be something organized at the national level of the public employment service, because of course each employment advisor is a small local office is not able to do that because he has a lot of activities every day. So maybe what we could observe in many countries is that this prospection or this work of identifying the good opportunities and contacting the national organization in charge of mobility, this work is made at the national level. And as I said before, maybe the best way is to work with the national organization of some countries, or sometimes also with some good and strong private employment agencies, if they are serious, of course, to build a nice relation with them in order to find job opportunities. Thank you, and good continuation in your good work in Bali, Trisna.
So the message is to kind of having centralized information, and of course this information about the German program is on the web. It's not impossible to find, and we can orient the job seeker to find it. The tricky part could be to have it in Bahasa. Well, nowadays we can translate automatically, but also to have it perhaps adapted. So as an Indonesian, if I'm interested in a program X, the German, the Canadian, the Australian, or whatever else, what do I need? Is there an easy way to find that? That is the question. We had a little bit of discussion on this during the second webinar on the 11th. If anybody from BP2MI specifically wants to step in and complement this, feel free. In the meantime, let me go with John from BPKK Kendari. Hi, John.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Diego and Mr. Franquez. It was a great presentation. It was very insightful. I got a lot of information about your presentation on there. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to ask about that. You explained about most of services like I would say you mentioned it about most of the local employment agencies that there are a lot of mechanism how to recruit, how to hire workforce to work abroad. But my point is that public employment services is only for someone who hired by a local agency, or how about the let's say how about in Indonesian who apply to work overseas by themselves? So they are not registered in the pub they're not registered in the public employment agency. So they apply to get a job by themselves. For example, Indonesian who graduated from overseas opportunity and then they try to continue their career in the country where they pursue their study. So and then I got that information about the last part about the compliance management. Is that only for the? Is that the compliance mechanism is only for the employee from the local agent who recruited from local agency, or is also for people who applied by themselves? So if so, is there any special mechanism to get this benefit? Like a compliance management. So did you get what I mean? So I mean,
Thank,
yeah, yeah, I mean, there's two types of people who work in overseas who apply by themselves and then who work by the local public agencies. So that's my question.
thank you, Jan. I need to ask the colleagues from BP2MI and Binapenta, because this topic was supposed to be covered during the second webinar, this specific topic. You remember we have the options at some point. We have the option to go to the institutional channels, the corridors by country or by sector or by both. And then we have the option of self-migration, let's call it this way. Was it covered? Can somebody from BP2MI please confirm? And then I'm supposed there is explicit regulation on this. It's not in principle forbidden, but I don't want to say more if this topic was treated on the 11th. Colleagues from Binapenta or BP2MI, anybody could please clarify on this self-migration option? Indah?
Sorry. Di webinar yang di sesi 2, cuma akan lebih baik lagi kita sudah ada link YouTube ya, YouTube channel. Jadi semua pembelajarannya sudah ada di situ. Mungkin nanti bisa coba dilihat lebih dalam lagi ya di sana, dipelajari lagi. Mengingat memang masalah teknis terkait migrasi ke luar negeri itu memang kewenangannya ada di BP2MI, sehingga kalau ingin tahu lebih detail, lebih jelas untuk aspeknya akan lebih baik kita mengikuti di di YouTube channel yang sudah ada. Nanti kalau memang ada kendala atau permasalahan bagian bisa sampaikan kepada kami akan teruskan kepada teman-teman rekan-rekan pengantar kerja yang ada di BP2MI. Gitu. Oke.
Wah, kasih.
Baik. Mungkin Pak Diego, mungkin untuk penanya terakhir mungkin kita bisa lanjutkan ya Pak Diego ya, mengingat waktu juga sudah lebih dari pukul 4.
Thank you. Sorry, before doing that, Francois, do you have anything specific to share about the countries where you have an institutionalized channel of migration, and then you have also people migrating on their own and doing everything by themselves? Is there an experience you can share about that?
Normally, the way to complain is dedicated for job seekers who find a job with support with the public employment service, not for the job seekers who found it by themselves. For this one, they use traditional ways. I mean, the labor inspectorate in the country, or maybe also their embassy in the country. But no, the public employment service can't be in charge of supporting them for a problem with the employers in the country.
Thank you. But the embassy can, as a migrant worker
Yeah.
in a foreign country,
Of
you can
course.
still go to the embassy. This is a message we can share for anybody. Mr. Dion from Jakarta.
Okay, thank you, Diego, for your time. My question is kind of simple. In his slide, Francois did in 7 team that international mobility is specialized there. So their team have to know whatever they need to know about their country. So the opposite country, I mean. Okay. So do we act like financial advisor, just give them their information and themselves deduce the information we give them, or we give them active advice? So it's my question is, do we can become active advisor or passive advisor, like financial advisor?
Okay, I understand. Both. The objective is that the employment advisor specialized on the topic of international mobility could give information about the reality of working in the country, in a foreign country, and also could advise about how to prepare your project. So there is 2 steps. First step is only information about working abroad or working in a specific country. And second step is supporting the job seekers in preparing his project. I mean, supporting his strategy to look for a job, supporting his activities to find solution for living in other country, or for his family in the country here. And okay, so first level is information. Second level is supporting to prepare his personal project. Is it clear?
Yeah,
go ahead, John.
I have more question about that. So let's say we're talking about Ivory Coast or any country in Africa, or any country in Latin America, like let's say Argentina or Turkey. So their country has extremely high inflation. Let's say Turkey like 50%, Argentina it's triple digit. So do we have to inform them about that? So basically, Indonesia counselor itself has different kind of education background. So let's say some have psychology, like me it's economics. So do we have to give them the full information we have, let's say like a political movement, financial movement, economic data? So because the economic data shows what kind it's political stability in that country. Do we have to do that, or just, let's say, in the employment sector itself? Thank you.
So our topic is employment. Okay, our topic is employment, and we need to give information about the reality of employment in the country chosen by the job seeker. What kind of profession, what kind of skills, what is the level of salary, all the information we could have, but we don't have all the information. But the information, the most important information, the most useful information that the job seeker could have, we could present. But also we need to inform and to advise the job seekers to find information by himself. Because what we need is to have people with a high level of autonomy. Because when he will be alone in the country, he will have to manage by himself. So we need to inform the job seekers about some realities of the country, but also to explain that he needs to manage by himself. He needs to upskill his capacity of autonomy and to find information by himself about the reality of the country, the reality of the economy, the reality maybe also of the political issues in the country by himself. He's an adult. Thanks.
And to go to what you were specifically mentioning, Dion, exchange rate risk is something to flag, okay, for foreign workers. It's very relevant. This could completely change the salary, the calculation about the salary. But of course, you cannot track and follow the exchange rate daily or monthly. But you can, first of all, flag the risk and tell the job seeker, look, study the evolution of the exchange rate, how variable it is. Take this into account in your choices. Add this into your considerations. This is what you can do as an employment advisor. Okay, thanks for this. Inda, I think this is the end of this 4 webinar series. We had incredibly flattering participation. Thanks to mobilize. Thanks for mobilizing all this staff of Minapenta and Maka BP2MI. It was great to have you all here. I'll give the floor to Inda for the closing. Thank you. And thank you, Francois, of course, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Inda.
Baik, terima kasih sekali Pak Diego, terima kasih sekali Pak Francois. Apa kabar Francois? Kita bertemu lagi. Terima kasih untuk materi dan 4 sesi yang sangat interaktif dan sangat kolaboratif ini ya. Kami dari instansi pembina mengucapkan banyak terima kasih dan juga mengapresiasi atas semua kolaborasi yang dilakukan baik bersama dengan program dari ILO, Prosek ASEAN, kemudian juga dari Kementerian BP2MI ya, dan juga dari Bina Penta sendiri, dan tak lupa juga dengan teman-teman pengantar kerja nih dari BLK maupun dari dinas, provinsi, kabupaten, kota yang juga ikut. Dan ini adalah pencapaian terbesar kita nih di akhir tahun, ini kado terindah juga nih karena di akhir tahun tapi ternyata antusiasme teman-teman pengantar kerja malah semakin meningkat. Jadi mungkin sedikit gambaran dari evaluasi kami dari sesi pertama hingga sesi keempat ini kurang lebih 500 orang selalu bergabung tiap kali sesi ya. Jadi itu semua adalah bentuk antusiasme dan saya harap ini juga bisa jadi pembelajaran aktif untuk kedepannya sehingga tahun depan kita juga bisa lebih intens. Dan sekali lagi kami juga ingin mengingatkan kepada para peserta untuk mengisi daftar hadir, link untuk evaluasi, monitoring evaluasi dan juga untuk post test. Jadi kita ada pre dan post test. Dan peserta yang nanti akan mendapatkan sertifikat adalah peserta yang sudah mengikuti kegiatan ini dan juga mengisi link yang tadi sudah disebutkan. Mungkin seperti itu yang ingin kami sampaikan. Sekali lagi terima kasih untuk perhatiannya dan sampai bertemu lagi di tahun depan untuk kegiatan berikutnya. Terima kasih.
Mbak, izin sebelum ditutup boleh request satu. Kalau berkenan, apakah saya bisa mendapatkan kontak atau email dari Mr. Francisco atau Mr. Diego? Ada hubungan kaitannya sebagai peneliti dan as a researcher, I wish I could have some information regarding my research about the migrant workers. Thank you. If you don't mind, I wish I can get your contact email.
Of course.
Thank you.
We will please ask Inda. She will share. I don't put it on the chat, but of course, no problem.
Of course, for me also.
Makasih Mbak Indah.
Iya, Ibu. Nanti akan saya infokan ya. Baik, saya kembalikan kepada MC untuk menutup acara.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Mr. Franco Dumora atas materi yang sangat berguna sekali bagi kita pengantar kerja. Dan terima kasih kepada moderator kita Mr. Diego Rey yang sudah memandu materi webinar pada sesi terakhir atau pada sesi 4 ini. Dan juga saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu sekalian yang telah mengikuti 4 sesi secara lengkap webinar series ini dan berakhirnya sesi 4 ini maka berakhir juga rangkaian dari webinar series ini. Sekali lagi saya ingatkan untuk sertifikat akan diberikan kepada peserta yang telah mengisi daftar hadir, pre dan post test serta evaluasi. Dan bagi yang ingin menonton tayangan ulang 4 sesi webinar ini, silakan bisa akses YouTube Bina Pengantar Kerja dan jangan lupa di subscribe. Baik, terima kasih atas perhatian dan kehadirannya Bapak Ibu. Akhir kata saya Yuda selaku MC undur diri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore. Sampai jumpa di